Welcome to Fairy Tale Access, where the head fairy's quest is to prove that fairy tales do exist in actual time rather than once upon a time. Together, we will unravel the heroes, young and old, who turn dreams into reality. These are the people who still believe in happily ever after. The discoveries will bend even our most cynical non-believers into believing in fairy tales. Hi, welcome to Fairy Tale Access. Today, I'm excited to introduce you to fantasy author Vieira with her newest series that has Lux and then Route 201. Both wicked exciting. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Oh, my pleasure. All right, first let's talk a little bit about Route 201 because you wickedly scared me with this one. I was like, it seems so real. So tell us about these legends in Maine, where you're from
Well,
originally, right?
yes, I'm originally from Maine, and Route 201 is a stretch of highway that pretty much stretches from one end of the state up into Jackman area, which borders Canada for the most part. And the legends come from a mixture of the Piscataqua Indian tribes of the nation and just some that I've kind of crafted together about some folklore about Jackman when I lived up there. So basically, I took the road as being a divider between living and death. And I just kind of went from there.
Wow. So are the stories that show up in this series about real legends in Maine?
Um, a little bit. I draw from that, but honestly, they're more my creation. I do know that there are some people that are very spooked by that section of 201 because there are a lot of accidents up there, mainly with moose, which comes into the end of the story. There's a lot of superstition up there, and if you're walking around in the woods and there's no noise, your imagination just gets going so well. And being there as a kid, most of my childhood, that just is where I drew from. I just took that feeling and went with it. Figured it could probably teach people a lot about life.
It definitely teaches about life and making different choices, better choices. But it was so scary, MJ. I am not kidding. That's why I sent you that message on Facebook. Did this really
It really kind
happen?
of made my day.
Really? Oh my gosh.
Hmm.
I was just like, I'm going to have nightmares. Why did I read this at night? Oh my
I'm
God.
sorry. No one's ever told me it's that frightening.
It was like, so, yeah. It was like the way the book starts out with, you're around a campfire or talking about these ghost stories, and then, you know, later on, it actually kind of happens, and you're
Hmm.
like, oh my gosh, I've done that. I've been at the beach and done that. So,
Yeah.
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 Ooh. All right. And then let's talk about Lux. All right. So this was crazy, a little bit scary. There are some scenes of domestic violence that really had you reeling in this one.
Yeah.
Um, and it was like the dark forces versus the good, or finding out who you are, whether or not you have that good inside you. That was really well done. So is he a demon? Is he a bad angel?
I
What?
really appreciate hearing that. Are you asking particularly for spoilers?
Well, no, I know how it ends. So he's more of a bad demon. Or,
Yeah.
okay. So not an
Malum himself
overfallen.
is, yeah, he's the evil entity that comes in and sneaks into you when you're most vulnerable and then uses you for his own wicked purpose. I definitely see him as a demon character, and you'll see later on in the series he does pop back up, but that's as far as I'll go into that. But he definitely, I take source from him from some of my own personal demons and just some of the things that I've dealt with in life. And I didn't really mean to when I started writing it, but Jade kind of morphed into my life experiences and my trying to find myself. And it just kind of worked out really well in the book, I thought. And I've had a lot of people say that they can relate, so that always makes me feel good about it, because that's my biggest goal in writing, is to have it resonate with people.
It does. And I think that Jade gives us all hope for that domestic violence situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, having been through something similar, it's the way we all want retribution, you know?
Yes. Get
So,
him.
yes.
Yes.
So I think it was really fantastically well done. You really weaved us into the story before realizing what we were slipping into. It wasn't like this is a domestic violence situation. You really romanced us. And the same way that she was drugged into her state is kind of the way that you brought us into the storyline. Wicked, well done. And then you're
Thank you.
there and you realize that, and you realize the things that are going wrong, and how she starts to question her surroundings and the people.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah, it's like coming out of a haze.
Yes. It was. So you drawn from your own experiences. What about the characters, and why did you go with demons versus another supernatural character?
I have always been extremely fascinated with, I guess I would say, religion, and I draw a lot from. I went to Catholic school for 2 years in Cheverus High School in Portland, Maine. I was the first year of girls to go there. I don't really consider myself in a particular religion, but I find all the teachings of any religion very fascinating, because at the end of that, to me, there's a story. There's a reason people thought that and used those characters to bring it to life. So to me, demons can mean almost anything. They could be an actual physical manifestation of evil, or they can just be something in your mind that you're sitting there fighting every day. To me, it's a very good representation of our life versus what we want to do and what we should do. And I've always been fascinated by demons, which sounds horrible, but not in a bad way. They're easy for me to draw on.
Wow. Well, 50 Shades of Grey also has nothing on you. You totally give us that sex
Thank
part
you.
of the whole thing. I was like, whoa, this is wicked.
And
the
funny story
drama.
about that.
No,
Yeah,
it's great. And the drama of a soap opera wrapped into it, along with
I
that real twist.
I appreciate that. I actually laughed because my grandmother has a copy of Lux, and I was a little nervous giving it to her because, as you just said, the 50 Shades of Grey aspect a little bit, and she calls me at like 6 a.m. Mary, those first few, because she calls me Mary. Everyone in my family calls me Mary Jo. She's like, those first few chapters, oh my God, they were so hot, and I just about died. I almost dropped the phone because I didn't know if I was mortified or like amused or what was going on. But that was quite a shock to hear that from my grandmother.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. I'm honestly giving it to my mother because my mother actually gave me 50 Shades of Grey first.
Oh, so she'll probably like that then.
Yeah, she'll love this.
Awesome.
That's great. And now you're working on a new series too, right? How many are in Lux, by the way? Sorry.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
So how many are in Lux, the Lux
So
series?
Veritas is the second one, and that is out. It's actually the Veritas series. Lux is the first one. So Veritas, the second book, is out. I am working on the third one, Aquitus, and that should be out by fall. I'm hoping that's my plan.
Okay.
As of right now, there are only 3 books in the main series, but I do have some spin-offs already going. So there's a lot to this series, and I don't really want to commit to an exact number. But we'll just say 3 definitely for the main plot. And as far as other projects, I have currently about 5 I'm actually working on. So busy, but
Isn't it confusing?
I really want to finish up Lux.
But isn't it confusing with all those different series going?
Sometimes, but I I'm one of those really horrible people. If I go into a store and I see a new notebook that I really like, I pick it up because I have notebooks everywhere for every series and all kinds of things. So that's how I keep it in check. If I'm going to go, like I have a series I'm calling the Dorigo series, which you're from New Hampshire, correct? So
Correct.
you probably know that Maine's Dorigo, that's their state motto, meaning I lead. So that's a witch series. So I've got that one going. I've got a werewolf series, so I've got a notebook for that, and then just on and on. It's the only way I can keep track of it. Otherwise, I do get confused.
Wow, that's fantastic. So if your fans want more in a particular storyline, they should send you different notebooks inspiring you to write more.
Yes, I love notebooks and pens. I'm a geek.
That's funny. So you're also working on a runes series. Can you tell?
Yes,
So it's YA book runes. Can you tell me about that?
yes, yes. This was actually one that hits really close to home. Recently, I lost a friend to suicide. And he was going to be on the cover of this story anyways. He and I had met through mutual friends on Facebook, and he was a cover model, and I really liked his look, but we became very good friends. Well, he recently ended his life, and I've decided that I am going to keep this book a YA, and I am going to donate all the proceeds to a foundation called Under Your Scars, which is started by Godsmack's lead singer, and it's for mental health awareness and suicide prevention. The actual story itself is a Viking type tale where the lead character, Jax, is running for his life and trying to save a group of children who he falls into taking care of. It brings a lot of Norse mythology in, and I think I really want to try to focus on that. No matter how low you feel, you're always worth something. So that's my main goal with it, is the suicide prevention, awareness, and the bullying, and just all the things that kids are seeing nowadays that even when I was a kid, I didn't have to deal with quite as badly. And I was bullied pretty bad. But that's my goal with that story. So Runes will be, like I said, a Norse mythology-based Viking story.
I can't wait to see that one.
Thanks. I'm excited about it. It's sad to write it at the same time, but it's worth it.
Definitely. And I think that your character development really shows a lot of research and compassion that went into them. They're
Thank you.
really like real people that we probably know. And that some of them are
I
scary, but
I want a T-shirt that I saw on Facebook. It says, "I'm a writer, and anything you can say or do will be used in my next book." I definitely draw very heavily from the people I know and the situations I've been in. And like in Veritas, the second book to Lux, there's a character in it which is actually for one of my good friends back home in Maine named Sherry. And she had this big joke that she wanted to be a tentacle goddess. It was this big inside joke, but I made her into a tentacle goddess in the book. So you never know.
oh my gosh. All right, we'll have to
Yeah.
be really careful around you.
Yeah, exactly.
And when did you start writing?
I actually started writing when I was about 16. It was a way to cope with some things going on around me that I couldn't control. My mother had breast cancer, and it was a outlet for me. So I had my horseback riding, and then I had my writing, and between the two, I could actually not get so bogged down in the stuff that was upsetting me. So I started writing fiction at 16, and it kind of sat for a lull for a while until I went to college at the University of Findlay in Ohio, and the now Dean of English there, Robert Tully, Ron Tully, Robert Tully, really promoted me and tried to push me to write more because I had him in English, and he had me write a paper on a commercial we'd seen and how it affected us and how it resonated with us. And at the time, there was a Dell ad for the typical college scene, and half of it was pink and fluffy cheerleader and the other half was goth, and I was definitely on the goth side, and my roommate at the time was very pink and fluffy cheerleader. So I wrote about that, and he's like, you need to keep going, like you got to keep going with this. He goes, I know your major's in equestrian, but you need to keep writing. So
Really,
I kept at it.
your major was
Huh?
equestrian and you switched to writing.
I didn't really officially switch, but I definitely kept the English major in the background. Yeah.
Wow. So tell us about your writing. How
My
long?
riding.
Yeah, how long have you been writing?
I started riding when I was 6. My mom told me to pick something off the Olympics, and I was a little girl and I thought ponies were pretty, so that's where I went with it. And then I started showing nationally when I was 15, and then I toured for a national title my junior and senior year of high school. I actually homeschooled, and I won American Quarter Horses Justin Rookie of the Year for my age division, which was a lot of hard work, but an amazing experience. So then the natural step from there was to go into a equestrian program, and Findlay has an amazing one. So I went there, but they make you dual major in something else because they know a lot of the horse people are going to get burnt out, which happened. So I actually dual majored in telecommunications.
Wow. What was that like? It's so competitive. Is it behind the scenes? Is it as competitive as it looks? Because it
Yeah,
all looks so proper, you know?
it's yeah, it's very very competitive, especially when you get up into the bigger arenas. Um, like I said, it was an amazing experience. It's taught me a lot about life. But yeah, there are some people take it the little league parent to a whole nother level. But I also met some very very good people that I still have in my life today, and I'm blessed to have in my life. So it was an amazing experience. It was very tough. I cried a lot, but I also laughed a lot. So you know, I miss it, but I'll come back to it eventually.
Oh, that's good. Do you still have a horse?
I don't at the moment. I was judging back in Maine just to kind of keep into it, but now that I'm out in Missouri, I kind of just been focusing on writing and my son and day to day life. But eventually, I will again.
Wow. Do you draw? So when you're in that experience, do you have a really close relationship with the horse?
Yeah,
Or,
yeah. Um, yes. So the horse that I had for my national title, he was a very good athlete. He and I worked well together, and I loved him dearly. But he and I didn't have the connection that my prior horse and I had. They kind of have a saying: you always get that one horse in your lifetime that's just knows you inside and out. And mine was Scotty, and actually he was around when my mom had breast cancer at the same time. That horse I could do anything with, and he'd come to me. We'd hang out. It was like having another friend. It was my best friend, as silly as that may sound. Chance, the national horse, he was amazing, gorgeous, and he and I had a good working relationship, but we weren't very personable. But you do get to know each other very well. You have to. It's an animal that's 1,000 pounds that you're trying to make do what you need to do, and they can't talk. So you got to work on body cues, and you get really good at that if you want to get anywhere with it.
no, it's true. I love the way you describe the relationship. It
Thank
makes
you.
sense.
Yeah, I mean, if I was having a bad day, I'd walk into the barn and it's like Scotty knew. He'd be right there in my pocket, and I wouldn't have to say a word, which was the best thing. Sometimes you don't want to talk. You just want someone to be there, and he was there for me. So, didn't have a boyfriend, had an awesome horse though.
Sometimes it's a better option,
Right?
especially for some
I
of these
agree.
characters.
Yeah, yeah.
So going into book two,
Mhm.
is Jade gonna make better friends?
Yes, you're gonna see Onyx plays very heavily into book 2. Who you obviously meet him in book 1. And she meets some new characters along the way that she finds she doesn't particularly like in the beginning, but she needs. And they develop a much closer and better relationship. And she realizes that being on her own, being this lone gun, really isn't going to work. Not in this situation. So she grows a lot, I think, in book 2. And book 3 is going to be kind of the cataclysm of everything. It's going to be a major battle book, let's put it that way. There's going to be a lot of fighting in it.
Right. Without giving too much away, though, for that ceremony, is it going to be explained why she came out of it the way she did? Like, do certain things that are now part of her. Um,
Yes.
so,
Onyx does explain the ceremony more, the ascension. He does go into it a bit more and why the results that Malum was looking for weren't there because he kind of did some things that Malum wasn't expecting. The full thing doesn't get explained until the third book, but you do find out more about it in the second without giving too much away.
good. Okay. And then you just released your fifth published work, Firebird. So book
Mm-hmm.
two, and how do you pronounce that? Chronicles.
The
Is
Yeah, the Mangian Chronicles.
Oh, okay. Tell
Yeah.
me about that. That sounds interesting too.
So Fireweed is the first book of that, and that's actually a flower I saw a lot in Maine, and it just always resonated with me because fire cleanses. So I drew from that, and then the characters within Fireweed are the vampires, which this world, the Manji world, you have mage side magic on one side, and then you have vampires on the other, and they have very, very tense peace, but they hate each other. So in Fireweed, you meet the vampires, and you meet a certain female character named Io, who is actually prophesized to come and bring peace to both, but you can't have peace without the war first. So we go from Fireweed meeting the vampires and dragons, and it's a high fantasy book, to Firebird, which you meet the Mangians, who are the magic side of the realm, who you meet Sita and Arashi. They're twins. And there is a royal coup where the king gets killed and they have to flee for their life. I can't give a ton away because if I do, it's going to be a spoiler alert.
Okay.
But it basically shows Sita is this very powerful witch, and Arashi is a storm god who they don't get along very well with a sibling rivalry, but they always have each other's back. Arashi has to flee with Sita's lover, Ol, who is actually the Sandman. She draws upon him to actually, she's going to bring over the change of regime, but the evil queen brings it first. So at the end of that book, you're going to find them fleeing to the vampires, who they never ever thought they would be, working with. The next book is going to be the two of them working together in a much bigger book.
So the coup and conflicts, do they center a lot on what's going on in the world today? Do they mimic any different places around the world?
Yeah, a little bit. I do watch world news. I obviously keep up on what's going on. And if I was going to really compare it to anything, I would compare it to probably the Middle East and the turmoil in the Middle East with, one family goes to the next and you've got people at each other's throats all the time. I really wanted to have a high fantasy book, and unfortunately, you don't have a good story without some major turmoil. And yeah, if you look in the world today, there's plenty of it to draw on from. So I definitely took some political aspects of it into that.
Oh, definitely. And I think that in both of these books, you bring real world elements into it. So it's like that fantasy that's, thrilling, that you feel like you're a part of, that, or that you escape from. you know,
Yeah,
it's just really well done. Congratulations on
thank you.
crafting such a good story. They're both
I appreciate
amazing.
that. They're a lot of fun to do. I put a lot of work into them, so to hear that they hit where I wanted them to is a great feeling. I can't even express how much that means to me, so thank you.
Oh no, you can totally tell you do so much research into different, whether it's the magical element or the new twist on 50 Shades of Grey, to make people blush when they're reading it. That's hysterical. I'm so excited to give it to my mother and get it a copy for a couple other girls I know, because they're
So
going to
that's
love
great.
it. They love that sense of, justice and conquering, something that's gone wrong in your life.
Yeah,
It's so empowering for women. And I think men would really like it just because the war elements, and it's just got such a great mix of action going on.
I love writing action. I could write action scenes all day. I enjoy it. So it's good to hear that it hit.
Well, where do you get your ideas for the action scenes?
A lot of action movies, unfortunately. I love, actually, Underworld was one I watched a lot when I was writing Lux. So I drew from the lead character. I think her name was Selena in that. So I'd watch that a lot and see how she moved. And I try to put that into my writing. I love action movies. So
Yeah,
sometimes the bloodier the better.
oh, yeah, both those elements come up in both books. Thanks.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I should probably put a gore disclaimer on there at some point, but
wow. So, last minute tips for young people either dealing with mental illness or, just writing in general to overcome obstacles.
my biggest tip with someone with mental illness, because I deal with it as well, is to never stop talking to people. There's always going to be someone out there. I mean, can't confide in everyone. Not everyone's out there to help you. But if you can find one good person that you know is there, confide in that person. I mean, you're not the only one dealing with this stuff alone, and that should be a message that's sent out worldwide at this point with everything we see. And as far as writing goes, I just find that it helped me if I was so angry and upset about something I couldn't control in life. If I just sit there, and it doesn't have to be a masterpiece, just get it out. And it's almost like a purge. It's a way to get those negative, angry thoughts out of your head. The point is, though, you got to leave them on the page. Once you get them out and walk away. Go do something happy. Go do something you enjoy. Writing's a very powerful tool, but it also can suck the author in as well. So you just got to be careful and make sure you reach out to people.
Oh, great advice. Well, thank you for sharing so much about what you do and your awesome stories with us.
Thank you.
I sincerely appreciate it.
I enjoyed this. It was very awesome to talk to you, and I'm so glad to hear that you enjoyed my work.
Thanks. Until next time, keep asking questions. And if you want a really good series to read, check out MJ Vieira. Route 201 will totally scare you. Lux will totally just capture your imagination. We'll see you soon.